In the next few videos here, what we're going to be learning about are some of the ways that strings are different from most other variable types. So they're an abstract data type, which is like an object, like this input thing, which means that it not only stores information, but it can also perform actions. We call these actions methods. In this one, we're going to be using strings. So this is a string of character variables. So the way it kind of works is if we were going to store hello world in a string, what it would do is it would store the H, the E, the L, the O, all of the letters and even the space in a different position. So the way it works is that H would hold the position 0 and D would hold whatever position you would get to. If you counted this would be position 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Now, the program here is called concatenation, which is an important term when we're talking about strings. So here's something you're probably familiar with: addition. So here's an example of addition. If we did 5 plus 6, that would be equal 11. So they combine to form a new term. Now, when we are talking concatenation, 5 plus 6, and we actually use plus in a lot of situations for the purpose of concatenation, this will be equal to 5, 6. I don't really want to call this 56 because it's like the characters 5 and then 6. So to concatenate is essentially to link together in a chain or series. So you can see that's what's happened here is we have linked these together in a series. 5 plus 6 becomes 5, 6. So we're going to have a little bit of user input in this, so don't forget to put your scanner here. And we'll just do a little bit of playing with strings in terms of like creating a name. So in this one, we'll have string. Now, because it's an abstract data type, the type begins with a capital letter. So we'll have the first name, we'll have the last name, and then we will be constructing a full name through the concatenation of the first and last names. So I'm going to put in my first and last name, and then we'll be working on combining that. So first name, Mr., last name, Stardom. There we go. I've got both of those stored, so you can use the assignment operator just as you're used to with other data types. So we're going to store one piece of text in each of these. And then we're going to have full name gets the value of first plus last. And then we'll display the result. So system.out.println full name. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. So this is what I get as my result. Mr. Stardom, all one string. It has become all one string, but there is no space in here. So what we have to do is we actually have to add this. So some people forget, you know, if you're adding words together and you're making a piece of text, you do need to include a space character in the middle here. So now when I run it, it is going to have the space in between my first and last name. Okay, there we go. Now, you can also do other things. So I said that strings have built-in methods, which are actions that we can perform. So I'm going to do one here to last. Last is a string, and it carries with it access to different actions or methods. So we are going to go last dot to upper case. Methods always have parentheses at the end of them, even if we're not sending it information. So if I run this again, you'll get the same thing, except the last name has been put into all uppercase letters. So there are a whole bunch of these that we will be using. This is just one of the most basic ones. Okay, so we've combined those things. Let's do something a little bit more interesting. So what we're going to do is a second part of the program here. So if you want to, say, create a dividing line, which I typically like to do to separate, this is like one little program. We're going to have another one underneath. We're going to take a series of words, and then we're going to make a sentence out of them. So, sentence. Now, what's going to happen is we'll write a loop, and as we go through the loop, we're going to add words onto the sentence. So our sentence is going to be our accumulator variable. I guess we can't use, I use variable still. Okay, so this is going to be our accumulator. So whenever you're using an accumulator, remember that you always need to initialize the value. So just like we would initialize like a counter at 0, we're going to initialize the sentence as empty. So the way we do that is we put equals, gets the value of just 2 quotation marks with nothing in them. So this is empty. So the word empty is actually important as far as strings go. Okay, now what we're also going to do is we're also going to include a flag. And that will end. So we will be finished when the user types in a period. There we go. Okay, so now we'll write a little loop here. And when we're done the loop, we're going to print out the sentence. So system.out.println sentence. So here's how this is going to go. We'll prompt the user here. So enter a word or period. That's what I'm going to do there. And then our word gets the value of, the way we do this is input dot next line. So this is how we're going to be reading in strings from the user. So input dot next line, and then our sentence is going to get the value of sentence plus word. We're going to be adding it on here. And then what I want to do is I want to put on a space. So sentence gets the value of, here's a different way of doing it, sentence dot, so we're going to put a string method here. It has one called concat, which is our concatenation, which essentially does the same as this. So you can use this in a variety of scenarios. I typically like to use this because often I'm doing more than one at the same time. And if you're doing that with concat, it gets a little bit confusing to look at. But you can use either method. Now we're going to do while word does not equal flag. Now this will keep going as long as the word they entered isn't the flag. Now this is actually not going to work because of strings. So if I run this, let's see what happens here. So I've got this. I'm going to enter, let's say, hello world, and put a period. But it keeps going. So it doesn't recognize that I'm putting in a period. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Now, this is one of the places where strings are different. They're complicated. They're not just like a normal char variable or an integer. So we need a little bit of extra work to make a comparison between them. So we cannot use the regular comparison symbols. So we have to use this. I'll take off the flag. Word dot equals flag equals false. So what this is going to do is this one is going to evaluate whether this word is the same as flag, and it's going to return a value that's either true or false. So remember that you can't use the normal comparisons with strings. It's a very common error that I see. So if I run this one more time, I think I'm running that. Oh, you know what? Dot equals. There, that's better. Word dot equals flag. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to say hello world, and then put a period, and then it finishes my sentence. I do realize that there is a space here. This is just a simple example, and we're going to learn how to fix things like that in the future. So this is just an overview of how strings work, and as well how we can add to strings using the method of concatenation.